You know that feeling. The alarm goes off at 6:30 a.m., and for a split second, you just stare at the ceiling, feeling that heaviness in your chest. You're already tired, and the day hasn't even started. You grab your phone, maybe check your bank account app out of habit, or maybe anxiety, and see a number that hasn't moved much, despite the fact that you've been grinding all month. It feels like you're running on a treadmill that's slowly speeding up, doesn't it? The classic rat race. And you can't help but wonder, why does it seem like the game is rigged?
Why do some people seem to get rich effortlessly, like they stumbled into a fortune while sleeping, while others work 80 hours a week, miss their kids' soccer games, and still just barely scrape by? If you're feeling burned out, or if you have that nagging suspicion that hard work alone isn't the answer, you are not crazy, and you are definitely not alone. It's exhausting to feel like you're trading your life away, hour by hour, for a paycheck that barely covers the cost of living.
But here is the truth that might change everything for you. The problem isn't that you aren't working hard enough. The problem isn't that you lack hustle. The problem is a lack of the right knowledge. As Naval Ravikant puts it in the Almanack of Naval Ravikant, getting rich is about knowing what to do, who to do it with, and when to do it. It is much more about understanding than purely hard work. So, take a deep breath. We are going to dismantle the idea that wealth is just a lucky roll of the dice. Wealth is not an accident. Wealth is a skill, and like any skill, it can be learned.
And if it can be learned, then it can be taught. It simply requires the right guide and the willingness to listen. Welcome to The Last Read, Books for Your Ears, Wisdom for Your Life. This is where we stop skimming the surface and start diving deep into the ideas that actually move the needle.
Before we go any further, take a second to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you do not want to miss a single step on the path to freedom we are about to map out. Today, we are strictly decoding the mind of Naval Ravikant. We are going to uncover the specific formula for wealth that requires zero luck, a systematic approach that works even if you had to start over from scratch. And we are going to look at the other side of the coin, the mental hack that makes happiness a choice, not a distant reward.
For those of you who want to underline these lessons yourself, the link to the hard copy of the book is in the description below. But to truly understand the message, you first have to understand the messenger. We aren't just reading a standard business book here, because the author isn't really an author in the traditional sense. In fact, the man on the cover didn't sit down to write this book at all. Enter Eric Jorgenson. He is the curator behind this project, the architect who saw the value in the scattered brilliance of a modern genius. He didn't write a biography, he built a mosaic. He took a decade's worth of interviews, podcast transcripts, and those viral tweet storms that broke the internet, and he distilled them into a concentrated dose of pure wisdom. It is what we call pure signal, no noise. And the source of that signal, Naval Ravikant. Now, in the tech ecosystem of the United States, Naval is something of a mythical figure. On paper, he is a titan of industry. He is the founder of AngelList, and he was an early investor in the companies that define our modern existence, companies like Uber, Twitter, and Postmates. If we are talking about the outer game of accumulating capital, Naval has effectively beaten the final boss. But that is where the story usually stops for most billionaires. They conquer the market and they lose themselves. Naval is different. Think of him as a modern-day monk who just happens to be a venture capitalist. Imagine a sage who conquered the cutthroat, sleepless world of Silicon Valley, amassed a fortune, and then, instead of buying a sports team or a super yacht, he retreated into philosophy to decode the source of human misery.
He is a philosophical unicorn. He is that rare anomaly who mastered the game of wealth without losing his soul to the anxiety of maintenance. He solved the equation for financial freedom, and then he turned around and solved the equation for inner peace. This book is the map of how he did it. It is the bridge between being smart with your money and being smart with your mind. And to cross that bridge, we first have to understand the fundamental difference between the games people play. Because, as we are about to see, Most people are exhausting themselves chasing the wrong thing entirely, wondering why the finish line keeps moving.
So, to understand why the finish line keeps moving, we have to look at the definitions we are operating with. Naval forces us to stop using the words wealth, money, and status interchangeably because they are not synonyms. They are completely different engines running on completely different fuels. First, let's define wealth, and this is the cornerstone of the entire book. Wealth is not a high salary. Wealth is not having a stack of cash in the bank, though that helps. According to Naval, wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. Think about that for a second. Assets that earn while you sleep. It's the factory full of robots cranking out products while you're on vacation. It's the computer code that runs a SaaS platform while you're having dinner. It's money invested in the stock market or equity in a business. Wealth is the machine, whereas money is just the oil. Money is simply how we transfer time and wealth. It's a tool. It's a credit system that allows us to trade collaboration. But wealth is the thing that actually expands the pie. It is positive sum. We can all build software. We can all build businesses. My wealth doesn't necessarily have to come at the expense of yours.
But then there's the third player in this trio, and this is the villain of the story for many of us: status. Status is your rank in the social hierarchy, and unlike wealth, status is a zero-sum game. It is a mathematical certainty that there can only be one number one. If I am the most important person in the room, you cannot be. For my status to go up, yours typically has to go down. This is the old game, the game of politics, the game of keeping up with the Joneses. Let's look at a day-to-day example to make this concrete. Imagine you see a guy driving a leased Ferrari, flashing a brand new Rolex, making sure everyone sees the label on his suit. That is a status game. He is signaling, I am higher on the totem pole than you. It feels competitive because it is. He is fighting for a limited resource, your attention and validation. Now, contrast him with a guy in a t-shirt and jeans who quietly owns a chain of boring laundromats, or a woman who wrote a piece of software 5 years ago that's still being licensed by Fortune 500 companies. They aren't flashing anything. They are playing the wealth game. They own equity. They own the underlying asset. They aren't trying to beat you. They are trying to be free.
Naval's insight here is sharp, and it serves as a warning. He tells us that playing status games inevitably makes you an angry, combative person. Why? Because you are constantly fighting for position. You are constantly monitoring who is above you and who is below you. He explicitly warns us, ignore the people playing status games. They gain status by attacking people playing wealth games. You see this on social media every day. The journalist attacking the entrepreneur, the pundit attacking the builder. They are trying to elevate their own standing by tearing down the person creating the value. It's a trap. And if you want peace, if you want that modern-day monk mindset we talked about, you have to opt out of the status game entirely. So, if we choose the wealth game, if we decide we want assets that earn while we sleep, the question becomes, what assets? You can't just build anything. You can't just work hard at random. You need to find a way to apply your effort that is unique to you, something that separates you from the crowd, so you aren't just a cog that can be replaced. You need to find the thing that feels like play to you, but looks like work to everyone else.
Naval calls this concept specific knowledge. And this is where things get a little counterintuitive. We are trained to believe that the most valuable skills are the ones taught in universities, the ones with certificates and degrees attached to them. But Naval flips this on its head. He says that specific knowledge cannot be taught in schools. Why? Because if it can be taught in a classroom, it can be standardized. If it can be standardized, it can be automated or outsourced to someone cheaper. If they can train you to do it, they can train 1,000 other people to do it too. And suddenly, you are replaceable. The price of your labor drops to zero. So where do you find this specific knowledge? You find it by looking in the rearview mirror. Naval tells us to look at what we were doing as kids. What were you doing effortlessly that looked like a skill to everyone else, but just felt like fun to you? Maybe you were the kid who was always trading baseball cards, negotiating with teachers, or convincing your parents to let you stay up late. To you, you were just talking. To the outside world, you were a natural salesperson. That is specific knowledge. You can't really teach that level of intuition in a textbook.
Or maybe you are obsessed with vintage cars. You know every engine spec of a 1967 Mustang, not because you studied it for a final exam, but because you just couldn't help yourself. You spent hours on forums, hours in the garage. To a normal person, memorizing those specs looks like grueling work. To you, it's play. That obsession, that curiosity, gives you an edge that no degree can compete with. Because while your competitors are working 9 to 5, you're playing 16 hours a day. You will simply outlast them. But finding your specific knowledge is only half the equation. You can be the most talented vintage car expert in the world, but if you hide in the garage, you won't build wealth. You need the second ingredient, accountability. This is scary for a lot of people. Accountability means taking risks under your own name. It means stamping your signature on the work. Naval puts it bluntly, the captain goes down with the ship.
When you take accountability, you are saying, I am the one responsible. If this fails, it is my fault. If the ship sinks, I sink. Most people flee from this. They want to be part of a committee. They want to hide behind a brand name or a job title so that if things go wrong, the blame is diluted. But here is the secret. Society rewards accountability with leverage. When you put your name on the line, when you have skin in the game, people trust you with capital. They trust you with responsibility. They give you equity. So the goal is to combine these two things. You want to build specific knowledge that makes you unique, and then take extreme accountability for using it. Ideally, you want to position yourself so that you are the only person in the world who does what you do. You want to escape competition through authenticity. Because if you are fundamentally building or doing something that is just an extension of who you are, no one can compete with you on that. Now, once you have your specific knowledge and you've accepted the risk of accountability, you are ready for the final piece of the puzzle. You are ready to amplify your efforts. You are ready for leverage.
You are ready for leverage. Think of leverage as a force multiplier for your judgment. If you have specific knowledge and you take accountability, leverage is what allows you to scale that impact to the moon. Naval breaks this down into 3 broad categories, and understanding the difference between them is absolutely critical for modern wealth creation. The first type of leverage is labor. This is the oldest form of leverage known to man. It's simply other people working for you. If you're a general, you have soldiers. If you're a factory owner, you have workers. For a long time, this was the ultimate status symbol. I have 50 people working for me. But Naval warns that this is actually the worst form of leverage. It is incredibly messy. Managing people is difficult. It requires tremendous leadership skills. And honestly, you're always one short hop away from a mutiny. The second type is capital. This was the dominant form of leverage in the 20th century. This is money working for you. Think of Warren Buffett or the tycoons on Wall Street. If you make a good decision to buy a factory or a stock, and you have $100 million behind that decision, the returns are massive compared to making that same decision with $100.
But here is the catch with both labor and capital. They are permissioned. To use labor leverage, someone has to agree to follow you. To use capital leverage, someone has to agree to give you money. You need a boss, an investor, or a bank to say yes. There are gatekeepers. And that brings us to the third type, the most exciting one, the new leverage, code and media. This is the leverage of the newly rich. This includes software, blogs, podcasts, YouTube videos, anything that you can create once and replicate 1,000,000 times for free. Naval calls this products with no marginal cost of replication. And the best part, it is permissionless. You don't need anyone's permission to write a blog post. You don't need a boss's approval to upload a video to YouTube. You don't need a bank loan to code an app. You just do it. Think about an indie software developer or a YouTuber. They might record a video or write a piece of code one time. That effort is fixed. But then 10 people can watch it, or 10 million people can watch it. The effort is the same, but the output is disconnected from the input.
Naval uses this beautiful metaphor. An army of robots is freely available. It's just packed in data centers for heat and efficiency reasons. When you write code, you are effectively telling an army of robots to do your work for you. And they work 24/7. They don't get tired, they don't quit, they don't ask for a raise. So while you are sleeping, your code is running, your videos are being watched, your articles are being shared. You are earning with your mind, not your time. This is the key to modern wealth. You want to use specific knowledge, take accountability, and then apply permissionless leverage to scale it up to the entire world. Now, let's say you do this. You find your specific knowledge, you apply leverage, and you get everything you ever wanted. You get the money, the status, the freedom. You win the game. But then you wake up one morning and realize you still feel exactly the same as you did before. And that brings us to the most dangerous trap of all, the trap of desire.
The trap of desire. And Naval has this quote that just hits you right in the gut. He says, "Desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want." Think about that for a second. A contract to be unhappy. Most of us live our entire lives in this mindset. We tell ourselves, "I'll be happy when I get that promotion, when I buy that house, when I hit 1 million subscribers." But here's the problem. That mindset is a hamster wheel. You run and run, you finally get the reward, you feel good for maybe 5 minutes, and then you immediately look for the next thing. You're back on the wheel. You never actually arrive at happiness, you're just constantly chasing the horizon. So, if chasing things doesn't work, what does? Well, in the Almanack, Naval flips the script. He argues that happiness isn't something you achieve out there in the world. It's not a destination, it's a skill. Just like learning to code or lifting weights.
He says, you choose to be happy, and then you work at it. And the way you work at it isn't by adding more fun things to your life. It's by subtraction. It's about the absence of desire. When you stop obsessing over what you don't have, your mind settles. It stops jumping into the past with regret or the future with anxiety. It just stops. And in that stillness, that is where you find peace. And to Naval, peace is happiness. But there is one massive obstacle standing in the way of this peace, especially today: envy. Naval calls envy the enemy of happiness. And in the age of Instagram and TikTok, this trap is deadlier than ever. We are constantly scrolling through highlight reels, playing what Naval calls multiplayer games. We're competing for social status, comparing our behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel.
Naval has this brilliant mental model to beat envy. He says that if you're jealous of someone, maybe they're richer than you or better looking, you can't just pick and choose that one thing. You have to ask yourself, am I willing to swap my entire life with theirs? You have to take their age, their family problems, their hidden insecurities, their bad knees, everything. If you aren't willing to do a 100% swap, then there is no point in being envious. It helps you realize that you're actually playing a single-player game. You're born alone, you die alone, and your happiness is entirely up to your own interpretation of the world. So, we've covered wealth, and now we've redefined happiness. But there's one more piece of the puzzle. Naval argues that even if you have all the money and all the peace in the world, it means absolutely nothing if you ignore the first priority on the list. It's the one thing that when you lose it, becomes the only thing you want. That thing, that non-negotiable priority, is your physical health. Naval has a very strict hierarchy for life priorities. It goes health first, then wealth, then happiness. But he points out that in our youth, or in the middle of the grind, we almost always flip this list upside down. We sacrifice our health to get wealthy, hoping that the wealth will eventually buy us happiness. But that's a dangerous game to play. There is a quote Naval loves, I believe it's from Confucius, that sums this up perfectly. A healthy man wants 1,000 things. A sick man only wants one. When you are ill, when your back gives out or you're chemically imbalanced from burnout, all those other desires, all that ambition for the next promotion or the nicer car, they just evaporate. You suddenly realize that self-care isn't some luxury spa day or a trendy hashtag. It's survival. It is the foundation that holds up the entire building of your life. If the foundation cracks, the wealth and the happiness come crashing down with it. So, you prioritize your physical body. But what about the mind? If health is the hardware, reading is how you upgrade the software.
Naval considers reading to be an absolute superpower. He says that in a world of TikTok and 280-character hot takes, the person who can sit down and absorb a complex book has a massive competitive advantage. But, and this is key, he doesn't believe in forcing it. He has this rule: read what you love until you love to read. A lot of us carry this guilt. We feel like we have to read the smart books or the dry classics or the latest business bestseller that everyone is talking about. But if it bores you, you'll stop reading altogether. Naval says to start with whatever grabs you. Sci-fi, thrillers, comic books, it doesn't matter. Just build the habit. And once you're in the habit, he suggests a radical approach to how you treat the books themselves. Treat books like blogs. Think about it. When you read a blog, you don't feel obligated to read every single post from 2013 to today. You scroll, you find the headline that speaks to you, you read that, and you move on. Naval says you should do the same with books. No guilt. If a chapter is boring, skip it. If the book doesn't grab you in the first 20 pages, drop it.
He says, I would rather read the best 100 books over and over again until I absorb them, rather than read all the books. But what are those best books? Naval advises that you focus on the foundations. He calls it building a mental skyscraper. You want to read the stuff that doesn't change. The news changes every day, it's disposable. But microeconomics, game theory, psychology, physics, mathematics, those rules don't change. When you read these foundational books, books on science and philosophy, you are building a mental framework that allows you to predict how the world works. You aren't just memorizing facts, you are learning how to think. And that ability to think clearly, that is what eventually leads to the wealth we talked about earlier. So, we have the body dialed in, treating health as a survival necessity. We have the mind sharpening itself, building a skyscraper of foundational knowledge. These are the daily inputs. But how do you sustain this? How do you keep from getting discouraged when the results don't show up in a week, or a month, or even a year? That brings us to the final piece of the Naval puzzle, the timeline.
The timeline. This is where most people fall off the wagon. We live in a world of instant feedback, likes, comments, same-day delivery. But Naval's philosophy, the philosophy of wealth and happiness, operates on a different clock. He calls it compound interest. And he's not just talking about money in a bank account. Naval says, all returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest. Think about that. When you start reading those foundational books we just talked about, or when you start eating healthy, or building a business, nothing happens at first. You might put in the work for a year, 2 years, maybe 5, and see 0 results. It feels like you're shouting into the void. But compound interest is deceptive. It's flat at the beginning, almost boring. Then suddenly, it goes vertical.
The Almanack teaches us that you have to be willing to be bored. You have to be willing to play long-term games with long-term people. Impatience with actions, but absolute patience with results. So, if we were to boil this entire book down, this whole almanac, into a single cheat sheet for life, what does it look like? First, wealth. Stop chasing the hot trend. Instead, find your specific knowledge. Find the thing that feels like play to you, but looks like work to others. Once you find it, apply leverage. Use code, use media, use capital. Earn with your mind, not your time. Second, happiness. Stop adding things to your life to fix it. Start subtracting. Remember that desire is a contract you make with yourself to be unhappy until you get what you want. Prioritize peace over elation. It sounds simple, but simple isn't easy.
This isn't a destination you reach where you suddenly win the game of life. It's a practice. You don't just get happy and stay there. You have to choose it every single day, just like you choose to exercise your body. If you want to dive deeper, and I really recommend you do because we've only scratched the surface here, there is a link to the hard copy of the Almanack of Naval Ravikant right in the description. It's a book you don't just read once. You keep it on your nightstand and read a page whenever you feel stuck. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure you subscribe to The Last Read for more wisdom from the world's most impactful books. I'll leave you with one final thought. We spend so much time looking out at the world, trying to find the next big break, the next distraction, the next answer. But sometimes the answer is in the silence. The world is full of opportunities. You just need to close your eyes to see them.